today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a story that's been hiding in plain sight. It's this incredible secret thread that ties the twinkling lights of Christmas all the way back to the ancient fires of Persia. So you look at these two scenes, right? On one side, you've got everything we know about a cozy Christmas. And on the other, this beautiful ancient fire temple. They feel like they're from completely different worlds. But what if I told you they're actually two sides of the very same coin? A really old story about light winning out over darkness.
Okay, so let's just jump right in with a pretty bold question. What would you think if I said that Santa Claus, yeah, the Santa Claus, actually has ancient Persian roots? I know it sounds a little wild, but stick with me here, because the history is absolutely fascinating.
To really get this, we have to go way back. I'm talking thousands of years to ancient Iran. And look, it's worth saying that this is a major historical theory, but the full story is, well, it's complicated. But the absolute key to unlocking it all is this one figure, an ancient god named Mithra. So this is him. This is Mithra. He was the Persian god of the sun, but also of justice and promises. For literally thousands of years, he was this huge symbol of light and hope. And his story? Well, that's our key. See, his followers celebrated his birth in a very specific way, a ritual that was tied directly to the cycles of the cosmos. And that special ritual, it was all about a huge celestial event, the winter solstice. You know, the longest, darkest night of the entire year. They celebrated Mithra's birth on that night for a really powerful reason. It was the exact moment the sun was considered reborn, when the light finally started its slow, steady comeback. Okay, so you're probably thinking, how on earth did an ancient Persian celebration end up at the heart of the Western world? Well, the answer comes from a pretty unexpected group, the soldiers of the Roman Empire. Imagine this. Roman soldiers, stationed all over the empire, come across the worship of Mithra out in the east. And they were just captivated by it. They became some of his biggest followers, building these incredible underground temples called Mithraea, just like this one. And they carried that faith with them everywhere, spreading it all the way from Persia to Britain. So the Romans had their own name for this festival. They called it Dies Natalis Solis Invicti, which means the birthday of the unconquerable sun. It was a massive deal. And the date they picked for this huge party? You guessed it, December 25th. And right there, that's where the connection becomes impossible to ignore. Fast forward a bit, Christianity becomes the official religion of the Roman Empire. But there was this one problem. That unconquerable sun festival was just too popular. You couldn't just get rid of it. So they made a really smart strategic move. They kept the celebration, but they transformed its meaning. And the change was so simple, but at the same time, just so profound. The birth of the sun became the birth of the sun. Just one letter difference, right? The Festival of Light got to continue, just with a brand new name. But here's the really cool part. It wasn't just the date that carried over. So many of the symbols that we think of as pure Christmas are actually echoes of these much older traditions. Just take a look at this. On the left, that's a Phrygian cap. It's this soft, red, cone-shaped hat that Mithra's followers wore thousands of years ago. And on the right, well, you don't need me to tell you what that is. The resemblance to Santa's hat is it's undeniable, isn't it? That's a direct line right there, across centuries. And what about the Christmas tree? Well, it turns out that in Mithraism, evergreens like the pine tree were these powerful symbols of eternal life. Think about it. In the dead of winter, when everything else is gone, they stay green. So decorating them was a way of celebrating that life would always endure, even in the darkest times. It was a promise that spring was going to come back. So that original Persian festival for the winter solstice, it's called Yalda. And even the word itself tells the whole story. Yalda is actually a Syriac word, and it literally just means birth. And what birth is it talking about? The birth of the sun, and the start of light's big comeback against the darkness. So you see, when you really start to look closer, you realize these traditions aren't separate at all. They're really just one human spirit, expressing the exact same deep hope, just through two very different cultural stories. And this is still happening today. To this day, Iranians celebrate Yalda Night. Families get together, they eat pomegranates and watermelon, which symbolize the dawn and the sun, and they read poetry. It's this beautiful, living tradition that celebrates the exact same theme, the ultimate triumph of light. So the next time you see a Christmas tree, or maybe you're eating pomegranate seeds on Yalda, just remember this connection. They aren't two different things. They're really just one fundamental human story about finding hope in the darkest of times. It's just being told in two different languages.
When you boil it all down, this is really a story about our shared humanity. Doesn't matter if it's in a church or around a fire temple, we all gather in the cold and the dark of winter, and we're all looking for the light. We're all celebrating its return. We're all looking up at the same sun.
And that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other hidden stories are out there? What other invisible threads are woven through all of our cultures, connecting us in ways we haven't even begun to imagine?